So from here we can create a detailed segment. So let's say you want to make some a bigger body for in that sense. So what you do is that with the backbone you make a new line and then join it. Make another one and always make it static, or while you move it the whole thing will keep moving it randomly. Yeah, so apparently you couldn't see, so I'll start over again. Yeah, so we'll start over again. So like I said, we'll be doing three things. So first we'll be starting with a detailed character. So one second. Yeah. So okay. So we made a body. Now we can save this as a separate entity, or or we can create a whole body and then save it as a whole. So let's create a whole body in that case. So like I said, the reason for making it static is so that the rest of the bodies, the main body part, does not move at random whenever you're changing its position in the animator. You can also increase the density of the segments, so you don't have to cover it up in as a whole. But I usually cover it up, so even if there is, let's say, a time comes when I have to do something with that body part, I can move it. So now I'm actually making a random stick figure. So yeah, I can add it to animation. So now, yeah. So see, now when I'm moving it, the other parts of the body is not moving. And yeah, so that's how you create a detailed character for that matter. And you can now next time you, let's say you only want this head from this body. So what you can do is you can load a figure type. Now you can save it as a head, and you can even save it in your files as an STK file. So you can have use it for later, and not only for this animation. So I'm just going to save it in this particular animation because I wouldn't need it. Let's say let's call it a head. So that's how do that, and then creating a background, which is one thing. When you're making an animation, you always need a background. And so like when I like how I told yesterday, so first, to recap, to change the width and the height, go here and you can set your dimensions. Now mine is 1000 into 400, and I can see it. And let's say you want to create your own one, so you go to paint and create one. So I'll share my screen. So as you can see down here, it is 1055 to 400. So my dimensions in my pivot were 1000 into 400. So let's first get it to 1000 into 400. Yeah. So when you maintain aspect ratio, basically it is maintaining in a ratio, so it's in a balance. So I don't need that, so I'll uncheck that option, and I will. Yeah. So now I have my background, and then let's create one. Let's create, let's say, like a classroom. So let's create a board. So now I have a version of the classroom, and so I'll save it. Stop. Yeah. So now I can add this background to my animation, and it fit exactly. So I've given the exact dimensions, that's why it's fitting exactly. So now here's the uh, I would say the con in the in pivot, which is basically if I increase the size of, let's say I make it 1500 into 750. So as you can see, my background has become big, but the picture size remains 1000 into 400, which was the previous size. That's because pivot will only change its background, not the picture which is there. So to do that, you'll have to go back to paint and then resize it, or you'll have to leave it the way it is. So you can't basically change it together. So let me go and let's say you're installing a not installing but loading a background which is not made in paint. So you can, again you can what you do is that uh, we go to paint. No, first we take a picture we want. So let me share this. Yeah. So let's say now I have a picture of a, I have some NASA wallpaper. So I'll open that with paint, and I will resize it. To maintain aspect ratio, and then yeah. So now I have my background. I can save it again. Now let's load the background. Now I have the background which I've done. So that's creating your own background, basically editing it according to your uh, uh, according to your needs. So that's how that is done. And so that's about it. Just a second. So now we will be creating the effects. So let's load in the old. Leave it at this. It's fine. So now the effects. So you must have got it from the drive, the effects pack. So there are many. So this is, I'll show you a video of a small animation which I had done. So there is a video I'd already done some time back. 1 second. Yeah. So this is the a video which I'd already done. Uh, so in this, now I applied an effect. So when you play it, this happens. So the way I made it is first thing in an effects pack, you'll have the whole effect, and you'll also have for each and every frame. So now what I've done is I've given my background, and I made my character, and then I've chosen each of those uh, effects and for each of the frames, and then I've added it for each and every single frame. As you can see, as you can see, this keeps changing positions. So it is already there with the effect. So that's why it is, as you can see, it is increasing and then decreasing. So for that, so we let's create a new one. Hmm. So we'll go to open animation, and there are some which are already preloaded. You can use that. So this is the electric beam which was there earlier. So in this effects, you can see there is one which is moving, and then there is for each of those for which it is moving, for each of those frame, there is a separate effect which is there. So when you add them all together in each and every single frame, so the effect happens. So now to create the effects, what you can do is you can take each. So let's say you let's open a new one and let's edit his figure. We'll give him feet. And remove the old one. You can change the color. And one thing I'd forgotten to tell you is if you want to change the size of the stick figure. So you can change it here. Now it's on 100. If I make it 150, increases. So that is one thing I forgot to mention yesterday. And yeah, so let's give him some color. Okay. So first we'll add a floor to it. We'll add a background. So let's start with making the electric beam effect. So I hope you guys are also doing it. If you're not, you can. I think this will be uploaded later, so you can see that. And yeah, so one thing you have to remember is that, like I said yesterday, for even if it's a small, very small change, and it's better to add even if it's a very small change, because it'll make not the transition and the whole overall video very smooth. Yeah. So now let's add the effect which is there. So we'll load the animation. You can open the animation 1 second. So we'll add each and we'll add each and every effect onto the man in the other animation. So first we'll copy the ball, and we'll paste it. Now we'll go to the next one. We'll delete the previous one and we'll add this. Just a second. I think this is not copying. So we'll keep this. It does the next frame. Here we'll add the we'll delete this one. We'll go to the next one. Copy that. We'll add it here. And as you can see, the onion peel has moved now ahead. We'll save that. Go to the next one. And we'll take this. Delete this one. And we'll keep doing this for each and every frame. Now, one thing you might be wondering is how do you make these effects? So to make that, you need Photoshop, and and you'll have to make for each and every single frame. You'll have to make using Photoshop, and you'll have to save it as an uh, STK file in order to use it in Pivot. So instead of doing that, which if you really want you can do that, but I would suggest you to go online and get these effects. There are plenty of them, so you won't have to make for each and every single frame. Let's reduce the size, keep it around 75. Save it. So now when you play it, so now that's how you get the beam effect. And it's fairly simple. There's nothing complicated about it. So that's the basics how to uh, add a add an effect. So now there are other effects. I'll show you that. You can even load it and check. So, so now we have the fire effect. So now it's for each frame this person has made. So some people, you can also make the effects using Google Images. You take it from Google Images, and you can use Paint and then remove the background. Which, yeah. So if you know how to do that, great. Or you can actually find even ones without background, so you don't have to worry about that. So you can find like that, and then you can create for each frame. Or what you can do is that, let's say you found an image of fire like this, and what you do is that you go to Paint and or Photoshop, and then remove for like now for like this a small like wait, yeah. So now like for a small flame and all, you can remove at least one or two frames of flame for each frame, and you can save it as a single entity, so you can get it like, so you can have like one two three. So now if you open one, that's one frame. Open two, that's another frame. So yeah, so you can add it like that. And there's also these Gif files. So basically it is you can save it once when you save a pivot animation, it's saved as a GIF file. And yeah, so that's how you can either save it as that, or you can save it as a uh, GIF file. So that's for effects. So yeah, I was going to show you the other effects which are there. So now there are like preloaded uh, uh, animations which are there, which I downloaded. So now you can see now there's man in the with a gun, and you'll also get a bullet which is there. So you can use that gun, and then you can add each and every bullet for that. So let's do that. And so if you want to select the entire thing, just copy it, We'll delete the previous ones. And now it's going from right to left. So let's flip it. So that's how you flip it. And this is to bring the stick figure to the center of the screen. So that's how that is done. Let's change the background again. Mm, Let's just give the yeah. So let's change the color of the stick figure and of the gun. So now let's add the bullets, which is there. So first we can go to the we flip this, we reduce the size, make it 60, and we go to the bullets. Copy the bullet. Simply the size a little bit. Give it another color. And we can duplicate this. So that's another frame. Let's move it ahead. So as you can see, because we moved the bullet uh, about, let's say, a centimeter or two, so that's why the transitioning is, it's not that smooth. So what we can do is to make it even smoother, instead of moving it 1 centimeter, we'll move it half. So we go to the next frame. Right? Just move slightly. Also, the other thing is that, uh, like now you can see if I reduce the frames per second, the frame rate, you can see that there is the bullet is actually changing position because I didn't go in a straight line. So what you can do is, the better thing to do is basically duplicate that single bullet and then move it instead of moving it yourself. So moving that same bullet ahead. So that's better when you do that way. At least it's in one straight line compared to the what I did before. So with that's all with effects. And one more thing is that to get your certificates for this workshop, you'll have to create a video using Pivot, and it has to be about a minute, and that's how you'll get the certificate. And that deadline will be given by, it'll be written in the group, and yeah. So when you submit it, you'll get the. It does not have to be. It does not have to be very like. Doesn't have to be like the best one something, but try your best and try to make a smooth one. And yeah, so if there's any doubts, you can ask. So you can write it in the group, in the WhatsApp group. Okay, so no doubts. So okay, that's fine. So yeah, so you can use these effects. So tomorrow, what we'll be doing is that now I've shown you the basics. So using this, we'll make 1 minute video. We'll make a 1 minute video with all these effects uh, tomorrow. So we'll be about a minute. So the now, as you can see, to make a small uh, portion of this video barely lasts us 5 seconds, 6 seconds, and that takes about 20 cent frames. So making a video, it won't. I'm not saying it's difficult. It's just that the more the frames, the better. So you can do that. So now, if you increase the frame rate, then it will obviously the video will be very quick. So that's one. So let's say you want to create a video in like slow motion. So yeah. So another thing for slow motion, there was yeah. So for slow motion, like if let's say you want to create a video and at one stable uh, frame rate. So what you for slow motion, if you want to do that, instead of moving it like you can actually set, there is some method to do that. Yeah, so what you can do is that you can, for individual frames, you can set a frame rate, and then for the other ones you can create in a short frame rate, a small frame rate. And then what you do is that using Windows Movie Maker, I don't think that's there now, but actually any software like a video editing software, so you create two pivot files, save it as an AVI file, and then you can load it on a movie maker or anything like that, video editor, and then you can add them. So that is one way you can make slow motion videos if you want, because otherwise it will be like you will have to take that particular stick man, and then you'll have to go in a very like a tiny, or either you'll have to go really minute difference you'll have to make, or you'll have to make a very large difference, which is uh, it's not, I mean, for saving time, the better thing is to make two different pid files and then put it on a movie maker. and then you can make your movie as you want. So yeah, so that's it for today. So yeah, so we'll meet tomorrow, and then we'll make a whole a 1 minute video using all the effects which is present in the folder. So yeah, so thank you. I'll see you tomorrow.